record. So awesome that we have the ability, let me see if I can try turning this one, to record this so that other people that are not able to be on, it's just a reflection of you guys. Like if it didn't have that part up there, but it's all right. It's totally fine. That people are at work are not able to be on at this time. It's awesome that we have the ability to record this. So we are going to get started with chapter 4 and the science of getting rich. Again, if you guys are just joining us for the first time, maybe you don't have your book yet, maybe you have the audio. Again, I highly recommend that you get the book. I think it's like $5 on Amazon, and it'll make you 5 million for sure if you do what's in it, if you apply the knowledge that you learn in here. But this book, it's really important that you're able to write in it, to underline, star, circle, highlight, mark through the pages of things that are super important and relevant to you. And what I'm going to be doing, of course, if you're new joining us, I'm not going to read these pages to you, but I'm going to share with you. It may feel like it today because there's a lot. I'm definitely going to share with you the parts that I underlined or starred. And again, if you're just new joining us, because I know some of you didn't get to hop on last week, you saw a recording. If you're just joining us, then this is a book that I started reading. I learned about when I first got in network marketing 14 years ago. And it is written back in 1910. Wallace D. Waddell. So this is nothing new. This is not new agey, new science, anything like that at all. Not that there's anything wrong with any of that, because aren't we always learning new things? Isn't that what life's about? Learning new things, changing, growing, working on being the best version of ourselves, because we don't want to stay the same, right? If you're not growing, you're dying. So anyway, chapter 4, the only thing is I wish they had page numbers, but they don't. Chapter 4, the first principle in the science of getting rich. So what I like to do at the beginning of the chapter is just like read that first opening paragraph, and then I'll share with you what I have underlined and starred. But also just so you know too, if you're new to listening to me or hearing me share information about the book, I just ask, I set an intention before I start that God puts the words in my mouth. So the stories that I share or the information or the analogies or any connections that roll out, they just roll out. I have no idea what I'm going to say other than I've read this book at least probably I would say 3-4 dozen times at least. I've read this book and listened to it over the last 14 years. So it's powerful. It's super powerful. I went from being a school teacher earning $28,000 a year to being an entrepreneur and earning almost double that in a month. So it works. The book works if you apply the information in it to your life, no matter what you're doing. It works. Okay. So if you have any questions, comments, if you want to add anything, or if you're like need clarification, there's a chat button at the bottom. You can click chat and then you can type whatever you need over there on the side. All right. So thought is the only power which can produce tangible riches from the formless substance. The stuff from which all things are made is a substance that thinks, and a thought, a form in this substance produces the form. So basically, you guys, what that's saying is that your thoughts they go out into the formless substance, which is God, the omnipresent, omnipotent substance that everything is created from. And that substance thinks, obviously God thinks, right? Interacts with you and your thoughts, and your thought forms the substance, okay? Thought of a form, and this substance produces the form. So if you're thinking like, I'll use a perfect example. One of my friends, Robin, she and I were talking the last couple days about signs and symbols, and she saw an owl. And the owl, she's like, if I see an owl, that's going to be 100% definite. The universe says, yes, this is what I should do. So she saw the owl. So she tells me about the owl yesterday. I'm like, oh my God, that's so crazy. I had a crazy experience with an owl this weekend. It was so bizarre and very out of the norm for me. And so then she, we meet today and we go on about our way. And I'm at the grocery store and I'm going down the aisle to get dog treats. And I look over and I'm like, in the craft section, you know, the school supply section or whatever in the grocery store, and there's one big, huge, bright owl journal sitting there on the shelf. Just one. And I'm like, Robin, there's another owl. So I pick it up. I'm like, I got to buy this, right? So your thought, what does this mean? It's going to produce things. Whether it actually like is something that you, like a journal, a notebook, an owl, numbers, you know. She'd told me today she was asking for the specific numbers 222, just to randomly show up as confirmation, the perfect time. And then poof, they pop up at the perfect time. So you're communicating with God. You're communicating with the universe, with that formless substance at all times. We live in a thought world, which is part of a thought universe. It's that simple, okay? So on the next page where he says, in the other words, the thought of an oak tree doesn't cause its instant formation of it to grow into a full-grown tree, but it does start in motion the forces which will produce the tree along established lines of growth. So your thought may instantaneously create something like this. Like you may see something, right? And other things may take time to grow. And you may see more of them along the way as something starts to grow, whether it's a tree, or whether it's a relationship, or whether it's a business idea, something starts to grow. And you follow those signs and symbols, and you have those thoughts and those intentions with it. In the next paragraph, I underline where he says, the thought of the house of a certain construction, right? If it were pressed on the formless substance, boop, doesn't mean the house is made instantly, okay? But it would cause the turning of creative energies along working in a trade and commerce into such channels to result in a speedy building of the house. So listen to this. I think I shared this one before. So when we moved down here to Florida, we built a home for the winter. So we're from Indiana. We built a home for the winter in Florida just to come a couple months out of the year. And then whenever we would travel down here throughout the year to have a place to stay, instead of spending all the money on condos and, you know, renting houses and stuff like that. So we get down here for the winter and, you know, fall in love with it. I don't want to leave. I want to move completely, sell the house back in Indiana. And so we're like, okay, well, here we are. We're in this home and we sell our house back in Indiana, but this is not our home. Like, this is not our dream home, nor is it big enough for us. This was supposed to be a winter place. It was a 3-bedroom with a den, but it still was not big enough for what we were used to and what we needed for our needs, especially with Taylor and all the things with her. So we start looking for other houses. So I find this one house I absolutely fall in love with. And I love the floor plan 100%, but I just want a bonus room. I want a like 900 square foot up bonus room with another bedroom and bathroom up there. And I want it on, you know, enough property, like half acre to an acre land in a subdivision with, you know, lots of kids for Trey to play with. Okay. So I want this house. I find this house. Well, not what I want to pay for this house. It's about $200,000 more than what I want to pay. And the lot is like not even a quarter acre. It's teeny tiny. You're on top of other people, right? The houses are way too close. And it doesn't have the bonus room up, but the main floor is exactly what I want. So I start writing about the house. I write all over the house plans that I've got, and I set my intentions. This is what I want. This or something better. This or something better. So this, and I also want these things or something better. Anyway, long story short, I'm doing this over the course of about 8-9 months, okay? Sitting here on my ottoman, you know, I'm looking at it at night when I'm journaling before I go to bed, and I'm visualizing myself in this exact house, location, blah, blah, blah. So finally, I'm like, you know what? Brett and I discussed it, and we're like, hey, we can't find the house. We've looked at every subdivision, everything. We're just going to just let it go. We'll stay in this house that we're at right now. We'll pay it off next year. It'll be totally fine. We're good. Literally the next day, Brent gets a phone call from a buddy. He's like, hey, I think I found your perfect house. I think I know exactly what you're looking for. Go look at this subdivision. They just opened up a new road, and they're going to start building back there. Boom. Long story short, the identical home, identical floor plan with the 900 square foot up, with the acre lot, $200,000 less than the other one. Identical to what I had wanted, to the T, 100%. Now, obviously, it had to be built, so it took about, 7-8 months to build it. But your thought will impress into the formless substance. The house wasn't done instantly. It didn't manifest immediately. It took that, 8 or 9 month period of time of me visualizing, seeing it, right? Feeling it, knowing what I wanted, clarity, and poof, there, then it pops up, right? In the receptive mode, I'm going to let go of the oars, God. If it's there, it's there. If it's not, we'll stay here, whatever. There you go. And then there it shows up. So, and if there were no existing channels for which the creative energy could work, then the house would be formed directly from primal substance without waiting for the slow process of organic or inorganic. Obviously, things can happen instantaneously. Like I said with an owl, you ask for a sign and symbol, the numbers you ask for a sign and symbol, it can happen instantaneously, or it can take time. But everything comes from your thought. So he cannot shape a thing until he has thought that thing, which is why dream boards, we talked about that last week, are so important. Vision boards, that you expand your mind, that you flip through magazines, that you look up things on the internet, places you want to go, places you want to do, because you can't shape a thing until you've thought of the thing. They always say, go sit in the car, smell the leather, go to the house. Brent and I spent about 2 hours a few weeks ago going through model homes, newer homes that have been built. We love this house that we're in now. This is not our dream forever home. We want to be down by the ocean. We want to be on the water, the ocean. And we need a different floor plan than what we have right now for what we want eventually down the road for Taylor. And so we started looking, and we found the house. Like, yeah, I would take this house in a heartbeat. This would be definitely the next house that I move into. And so you got to go there. You got to experience it. And if you can't get there physically, pull it up online. Look at it. Like, there's no reason why you can't pull it up online, right? So on the middle of that page, I started where he said, people have so far made little or no effort to cooperate with formless intelligence to work with the Father. So this is an important paragraph. Humankind has never thought of trying to cause the creation of new forms by impressing thought upon formless substance. When a person has a thought form, he takes material from the forms of nature and makes an image of the form in which is in his mind. People have so far made little or no effort to cooperate with formless substance, this is God, to work with the Father. Most people don't do that. Maybe you do. Most people don't. And so the individual has not dreamed that he can do what he sees the Father doing. God creates, manifests right immediately, right? Turn water to wine. Whatever needs to be done like this. You have the ability to do the same. It's your belief, right? It's communicating your thoughts to God. We propose to prove, this is super important. I hope you guys I put number 1 next to this because this is the first step. There are 3 steps on here he's going to go over. We propose to prove that you can do that, to prove that any man or woman may do so, and to show how. As our first step, we must lay down the 3 fundamental propositions. So first, okay, and they're going to be on the next page. So he says that we assert that there is one original formless substance or stuff from which all things are made. Do you understand? You guys get that, right? Everything comes from source, from God, from the universe, from the omnipotent, omnipresent stuff that's out there that you can't see, okay? All the many forms found in organic, inorganic, blah, blah, blah. It's all this stuff, this thinking stuff. You communicate with it through your thoughts and through your feelings. So number 1, here's number 1. I've got number 1, 2, and 3. Okay, number 1, there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, in which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the universe. What he's saying here is there is more out here that you can't see that you're communicating with than communicating with people. So take time to quiet your mind, to connect to God, to connect to this formless substance out here that has infinite possibilities for you. Anything exists. So there is this exists. This is not made up, right? In its original state, it permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the universe. A thought, this is number 2, a thought in this substance. Your thought, speaking to God, you communicating with the Father. That's what he said, right? You communicating with the Father. So a thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. This is the house I want. I want this property. I want this price. I want this exact floor plan or something better. I mean, I'm not going to limit God. I always say, or something better. Always. Because if there is something better out there and that's what you want me to have, bring it on. I'll definitely take it, right? So this or something better. So you speak what you want. So this is where your clarity comes in, right? And then number 3, a person can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance can cause the thing that he thinks about to be created. You have the power with your mind to create whatever you want in your life. Whatever you want. Look at every part of your life. Look at your life physically. Look at your life emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Look at your physical health. Look at your financial health. Look at the health of the relationships that you were in. And maybe there's all areas you're like, oh, my life's incredible, right? Maybe you're saying, I need to work here. I want to work here. What do you want everything to look like? What do you want to experience? What do you want to do? Who do you want to be? Who do you want to become? What do you stand for? What do you represent? You have the ability to create that with your thoughts. Your intentions create. So your attention to the intention creates. You understand that? That's huge. Like if you can get this, 1, 2, 3, like life's going to be freaking incredible for you. You're not a victim. Things are not happening to you. Why does all this bad stuff happen to me? It's happening for you. Everything is happening for you. Are you aware of what's happening in your life? And are you aware enough to say, you know what? This is not what I want. I'm sick and tired of these coworkers. These people are out of control. Or I don't want to live here anymore. Or I'm done with this relationship. Or I'm tired of being fat and on medications or whatever. If you make those statements, I want something different, then you better be thinking about what you want. What do you want? What you focus on expands. So, proof. I got it down here written at the bottom. Proof. Me. What did I talk about? I don't know. Oh, yeah, here we go. So, the strongest proof. If one person who reads this book gets rich by doing what it tells them to do, then that is evidence in support of my claim. I'm one person right here telling you that this book right here is the first book that I read over 14 years ago on money, on how to obtain riches. And it said, read this book, and read it over and over and over again. And I did until I made millions and millions of dollars. This is the book. Now I told you guys that I've read thousands of books since. I read lots of books. I read all kinds of books. But this book is the backbone for all of it because it's the truth. It's the truth. And if you say, well, there's not scripture, not word for word scripture. He quotes different scripture in here. There's over 2,000 scriptures in the Bible on abundance and prosperous living with money and finance. And that's what this book is doing. It's the exact same principle, right? From 1910 saying there's a science to this. If you believe and you think a certain way, and if you communicate with your God in a certain way, and you have that gratitude, and we're going to get into that next week. I can't wait for that piece. You have that feeling. It's going to happen. It will happen. So here are the steps to do it. Okay, so you're thinking a certain way. Here are the steps. Oh, I love this part again. All right, so on the next page, he says, the theory is true until the process fails, and the process will not fail for everyone who does exactly what this book tells them to do will get rich. Do it in a certain way. You have to think a certain way. Think. Have you heard the book Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill? He doesn't say, complain about your life and hate your relationships and, feel like you're a miserable, worthless person and grow rich. He says, think and grow rich. He's talking about think in a certain way, which is exactly what this is, right? So to do things a certain way, you want to do them, you will have to acquire the ability to think the way you want to think. So the first step into getting rich, number 1, and to think what you want to think is to think truth. Regardless of appearances, every individual has a natural inherent power to think what he wants to think, but it requires far more effort to do so than it does to think the thoughts which are suggested by appearances. Do you guys know what that means? Think truth. What is true to me? What is true to you? What is true to her, to her, to her, to him, to him, to him, right? What is each of our truths. So it requires far more effort to do so than it does to think the thoughts which are suggested by appearances. Do you want to go with what the people say, the masses say, the social media says, the norm says? Do you want to go with what your family says or your spouse says or your sister or your best friend says? Or do you want to go what you know is your truth inside of you? Your connection to God. What's your truth? Okay? So the bottom part is, this is the hardest work in the world. If it were easy, everyone would be rich. If it were easy, everyone would be getting everything that they want. No one would think they were victims. No one would think that life is horrible and bad things happen to them. Everybody would know. But it's hard work because you have to master your mind. This is it, right? The science of getting rich is right here. It's right here. It's all about your thought and your visualization and your gratitude. It's all right here. You have the power. Right? So on the next page, he says, to look upon the appearances of poverty will produce corresponding forms in your own mind unless you hold the truth that there is no poverty, there's only abundance. To think about health when surrounded by appearances of disease, or to think about riches in the midst of appearances of poverty requires power, but whoever acquires this power becomes a mastermind, and the person can conquer fate and have whatever he wants. This is huge. I had somebody from the last group that we did this, and she sent me this picture, and she said, I need clarity on this. So I want to talk about that again, okay? Because the word mastermind was what she specifically wanted clarity on. So if you're in the midst of poverty, if you're in the midst of disease, and if you're in the midst of suffering or a bad situation, okay, to think about these things, even if you're in the midst of them, requires power, but whoever acquires this power becomes a mastermind. So if in the midst of poverty, you can focus on only abundance. In the midst of disease, you focus only on health. In the midst of, anything that's not what you want, if you can focus on only what you do want. And I'm not saying put your head in the sand and ignore the situation. You're in an abusive relationship. I'm not saying just ignore it. But can you put all your energy and effort into what you want, what kind of relationship you want, what kind of partner you want? That's what you put your intention to. That requires your willpower over yourself. Whoever acquires this power becomes a mastermind. You can conquer fate and have whatever you want if you conquer this. If you know how to only focus on the things that you want. What you focus on expands. If you're constantly complaining about things, you're going to get more things to complain about. If you're constantly complaining about other people or situations or things are not the way you want them to be, all this chit-chat, chatter, you're going to get more of that. Tony Robbins says you get 1 minute, 60 seconds to rant, to vent, to complain, whatever it is. 1 minute. After that, you know what you've done? You've put so much momentum behind it, it's not going to stop. And life's a boomerang, which put out, you get back tenfold. So if you keep talking about this stuff, so instead you can say, okay, what am I supposed to do? Ignore it? No. Hey, guess what? Here it is. This is a situation in front of me. Okay, great. This is a situation. I'm going to send lots of blessings to that person. I'm going to send lots of love to that situation. I'm going to say, God, I need your help. I need you to step in and take care of this, please, because this does not serve my highest good. I don't want to be involved in this. I'm out. I need your help. All the blessings to the people, all the blessings to the situation. I need help with this. Come in and help take care of this situation, whatever serves their highest good, my highest good. What do I want? Because you're being shown contrast. You're being shown, these are things that I don't like in my life. These are situations I don't like. I look in the mirror and I'm not happy with my health. Okay, great. I'm done with that. I am done with being overweight. Show me. Lead me, guide me. I'm done with that. Bless that old fat self. How do I want to see myself? Cut out pictures. Look at old pictures. I remember when I first started my weight loss journey, I found a picture of myself from when I was 24 years old. And I was boating. I was in a bikini. And I found that picture. It is literally in my nightstand drawer right now. And I look better than I did when I was 24. And thought I looked freaking incredible back then. And I've had that picture literally for the last 3.5 years. And I look at it, not daily, not weekly, not monthly anymore, but I used to look at it all the time because I'm like, that person existed. I want to be that. And maybe it is you, maybe it's not you, maybe it's somebody else. But you got to have something that you focus on what you want. Okay? That's what you do. You can conquer fate and have whatever you want. You're the mastermind. Okay? When we realize this, we lose all doubt and fear. For we know we can create what we want to create and can get what we want to have and become what we want to be. As a first step toward getting rich, you must believe the 3 fundamental statements given previously in this chapter in order to emphasize them. And I'm not going to read them every time, but I'm going to read them right now so you understand this. I'm going to repeat them. Number 1, there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made. God. And which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the universe. That's God. Number 2, a thought in this substance produces a thing that is imaged by the thought. Your thought produces. Number 3, a person can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance can cause the thing that he thinks about to be created. There you go. You can communicate with God to create whatever you want. Okay? Last sentence. This is super, super important. Do not go to churches or lectures where a contrary concept of things is taught or preached. Do not read magazines or books that teach a different idea. If you get mixed up in your understanding, belief, and faith, all your efforts will be in vain. Do not ask why these things are true, nor speculate as to how they can be true. Simply take them on trust. The science of getting rich begins with the absolute acceptance of this. You see that? So back when I first read this book, I didn't know what any of this meant. I had no idea. But somebody in that first company in Arbonne had told me, read this book and you'll no longer be a school teacher. You'll get rich. Okay. She didn't say just read the book and get rich. Obviously, I take action. That's going to come in some future chapters here, right? You got to work. You got to do something, right? You're thinking, but you also have to give God something to bless, and he blesses your action, right? Your commitment, your thought, your commitment, your consistency, and your persistency. So super important that you just say, I'm going to step out on a limb here, because let me just put it this way. If you're looking at your life and you're saying, let's just use finances for easy references. You're looking at your life and you're saying, I'm broke. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I don't have any money in my bank account. I barely can put food on the table. Haven't had a new pair of shoes or new clothes in years. Everything I have is hand-me-downs. My furniture, my clothes. People have given me all stuff. I don't have anything. I haven't taken my family on vacation. I haven't been on a vacation. I've never had a massage. I don't even have money to buy the right food that I want to eat to even get healthy. So finances, like all areas of your life, you're broke. What do you have to lose by reading and rereading this and applying these principles in your life? Like, what do you have to lose? To step out on faith and say, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to read this book. I'm going to read it over and over again. I'm going to really read it and really digest it and really apply what it's saying to do. I'm going to think, I'm going to write, I'm going to journal, I'm going to cut out stuff out of magazines, I'm going to visualize, I'm going to put myself there, I'm going to focus on it, even though there's nothing in my bank account. I'm broke. I'm going to do the best I can at the job that I'm at right now. I'm going to go get another job or another job. I'm going to create more income, more ways to make money for my family, if that's what's needed to be done. And I'm going to apply the principles in this book. What do you have to lose? Nothing. What do you have to gain? Potentially a life that you never imagined would even be possible for you. Is it worth it? Only you can decide that. Chapter 5, Increasing Life. You must get rid of the last vestige of the old idea that there is a deity or a devil whose will is that you should be poor, or whose purposes may be served by keeping you in poverty. The intelligent substance, which is all and in all, and which lives in all and lives in you, is consciously living substance. Every living intelligence for increase of life. Life in the mere act of living must increase. There is nothing preventing you from being rich except for you. If you're not where you want to be financially, if you're not where you want to be in your relationships or in your health, there's something you don't know. That's it. You're lacking the knowledge. And I'm not saying that you're stupid by any means. In this day and age, with the internet and everything that's at our fingertips, holy cow, there's no reason why you don't know, except you just haven't asked the right questions to get to that information. So here you are now. You're here, so you're asking the questions. Right now, there's nothing holding you back. There's no devil. There's no deities or anything that are of the dark preventing you or stopping you from reaching your goals and dreams. Nothing. Only you. You control you. You determine your life. You are the author of your story. You get to write it. I have literally written hundreds of journals over the last 14 years. My life, I can't wait. So, a lot of times when I'm writing, I'm like, man, what are my grandkids or great grandkids or great grandkids gonna say about this stuff when they read it? I always date every entry, and I'm really being very intentional on being specific so that they can it's like a story unfolding. Like my great grandma, these are the things she prayed for. These are the things she worked for. These are the things she created. Because I always like to go back, I'll write about things that I am grateful for that have happened during the day or that are happening in my life. But I always write about things that I'm grateful for that I haven't even achieved yet. And then I'll go back at different times and say, I'm so grateful for, this experience that had happened in my life that I had, written in my journal about weeks ago or days ago, whatever. So I can't wait for them to see that, to know that I've been the author of my life for solidly for the last 14 years on paper, because that's how long I've been journaling. It's power. There's power in your pen. Power. So much power, you guys. So much power. Whew, so much power. On the next page, every thought we think makes it necessary for us to think another thought. Consciousness is continually expanding. Every fact we learn leads us to learning of another fact. Knowledge is continually increasing. We are subject to the urge of life seeking expression. It's all about us growing, all of it. We must have things to use, for we learn and do and become only by using things. What are you using in your life? What would you do if I gave you $100? What could you purchase with that to use? What things that you use to learn, to do? What would you buy? Because we only become this by using things. So what would you buy? What if I gave you $1,000? How about 10,000? Like if I gave you $10,000 and I'm saying, in order to know more, to do more, and to be more, we must have more. So if I gave you $10,000, we must have things to use, for we learn and do and become only by using things. What would you do with $10,000? What would you do with $100,000? What about $1 million? What would you do? What things could you do? What things could you use? What could you become by using these things? Perfect example. There was a movie I watched this weekend called Limitless. Highly recommended. Bradley Cooper. Not to mention, he's incredible to look at. Limitless. What happens when you have money? He acquired $800. What's the first thing he did? Got a haircut. He needed it. Cleaned himself up. Went and got himself some decent clothes. He went from looking like a drug user to front cover of GQ. Yep. You'd buy that book. Exactly. This book. Yes. He used the money to be able to buy an outfit or two that he needed to go present himself in front of people to give him more opportunities. What would you do with $100? Could you go buy an incredible outfit that you could walk into a networking event or walk into a fundraising event or walk into any kind of place where you could gain more business, be exposed to more opportunities if you had maybe a different outfit? And I'm not saying you have to have a certain outfit to walk in. I'm not saying that. I'm just using his example. He went to this event and he looked incredible. And he used that money to buy the outfit. Does that make sense? Yeah, the movie is amazing. Absolutely. Yeah. So on the bottom of this page, this right here, I underlined the whole thing and wrote "that's it" in the side. So we must get rich so that we can live more. The desire for riches is simply the capacity for larger life-seeking fulfillment. Every desire is the effort of an unexpressed possibility to come into action. It's the power seeking to manifest which causes the desire. Okay, that needs to be understood. Every desire is the effort of an unexpressed possibility to come into action. It is power seeking to manifest which causes the desire. That which makes you want more money is the same thing which makes the plant grow. I want more money because of these things that are going to increase my life, that are going to add value into my life, that are going to allow me to experience more things, to go different places, to be a part of more events or functions or whatever, where I'm adding value. That which makes you want to make more money is the same thing which makes the plant grow. That increase for life seeking fuller expression. The one living substance must be subject to this inherent law of all life. The one substance desires to live more in and through you. All right, so look, you have to decide this. You have to decide. It's the desire of God that you should get rich. He wants you to get rich because he can express himself better through you if you have plenty of things to use in giving him expression. He can live more in you if you have unlimited command of the means of life. The universe desires you to have everything you want to have. Nature is friendly to your plans. Everything is naturally for you. Make up your mind that this is true. Make up your mind. Like that paragraph, you have to decide this. You have to read this and say, you know what? I've never experienced this, so I don't know. I've never thought God wants me to be poor. He wants me to live bankrupt. He wants me to live broke. He wants me to live paycheck to paycheck. I've never experienced that. And I'll be completely honest with you. I was raised where my dad said, money doesn't grow on trees. Money doesn't grow on trees. He always said that. And I would look out back, and there was these row of pear trees out back. And I swore there was money hanging on those trees. I always believed there was money on the trees. There's plenty of money out there. I bucked my dad from day one. I knew it inside of me. I knew I was going to grow up rich. I knew it. And we didn't suffer as a kid. My dad had a fabulous job. He was a Boilermaker, blue-collar worker. My mom didn't work. She stayed home, did the whole, kid thing, breakfast. A couple kids came over in the morning. She did a little, babysat one little girl. She was my kindergarten teacher's daughter. So, just typical middle-class family, right? But I remember them always saying, that money didn't grow on trees. We lived in a beautiful house my mom and dad built. My grandmother always said, honey, anything you want, you can have. Anything you want, you can have. If you don't have money for it, I'll get it for you. I'll float you alone. That's always what she said. And that meant you can have whatever you want. You don't have to pay me back. Was my grandmother rich? Nope. She was not. She worked in a factory her entire life. My grandfather was a truck driver. They lived in a small little house about 10 minutes from my mom and dad's house where my mom grew up. So they weren't like super rich. They had money. They had enough to provide. They weren't poor. They didn't struggle, but they weren't like overly abundantly. When my grandparents died, they didn't have anything left behind. So it wasn't like we had this inheritance come through or anything like that. They just had, and my grandmother had an abundant mentality that you can have whatever you want. Whatever you want. And if you don't have money for it, I'll float you alone. And now that I think about it, that's interesting. I've never had this realization before. What if you don't have money for it, where is it going to come from? God will provide. The universe will provide. I'll float you alone, which means I will give it to you for free. If you don't have the money for it, it can still be manifested out of thin air, right? Of course it could. If I wanted a new outfit and my mom and dad said, no, we don't have the money for it, we're not buying that, or they just didn't want to buy that because, back then you waited for Christmas presents. You got birthday present and you got Christmas present. My brother always got the short end of the deal because his birthday was 10 days before Christmas. Mine was 3 months. Not much better. So that's all you got. You got maybe a teeny little thing in your Easter basket, and that was about it, right? We didn't get things year all the time. I need to see little pics. You want me to take pics of my pages, Alana? You want to see little Stacy. You want to see pictures of me when I was little? Oh my God, my mom's coming down next week. I'll tell her to bring pictures. I don't have any pictures. I don't think I do, but maybe I have a few. Actually, I may have a few. Yeah, I'll have to look. I don't know. But anyway, I was a brown-headed little girl. I had lots of brown hair. It's under there somewhere. See it down there, the brown hair. But anyway, I would go to my grandmother and say, I want a new outfit. I want to go get these clothes, or I want these shoes. And she'd say, okay, let's go get it for you. It was always yes. So I always got yes. And so I always had this abundant mentality that I was going to be rich. I was going to have anything and everything I wanted, right? It's always there. This is important, super important. Make up your mind it's true for you. You can have whatever you want if you do things a certain way. If you believe abundant, believe it with faith, right? It's essential, however, that your purpose should harmonize with the purpose that is in all. You must want real life, not mere pleasure or sensual gratification. Life is the performance of function, and the individual really lives only when he performs every function, physical, mental, and spiritual, of which he is capable without excess of any. So you don't want to get rich in order to live, I love this, swinishly, right? For gratification of animal desires, meaning like your physical, right? It's not life. Not addictions, abuse things, right? But you don't want to get rich to get solely the joy of mental pleasures, just to get the knowledge, to gratify ambition, to outshine others, or to be famous, okay? And then you don't want to get rich solely for the good of others, to lose yourself in the salvation of mankind, okay? To experience the joys of philanthropy and sacrifice. The joys of the soul are only part of it, and they are no better or nobler than any other part. You want to get rich in order that you may eat, drink, and be merry when it is time to do these things. In order to do so, you may surround yourself with beautiful things. Listen to this. This is important. See distant lands, feed your mind, develop your intellect, in order that you may love others and do kind things and be able to play a good part in helping the world find truth. You're the light. You be the example. You have the ability to do that. Get rid of the idea that God wants you to sacrifice yourself for others and that you can secure his favor by doing so. It is not humble to be poor. It sucks, right? To be poor. Are you like, oh, I'm poor, I'm humble, I'm going to heaven. Those rich people are all just a bunch of blah, 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 whatever, right? Evil people. Not true. Rich people have choices. Now, I'm not saying all rich people are incredible people. I'm not saying that by any means. It gives you choices. It gives you ways that you can bless people that you never even dreamt of. Never, ever, ever imaginable until you get there. So get there, and because money just is going to magnify who you are. If you're a really evil person, more money is just going to give you the opportunity to be even more evil. If you're a really incredible, kind-hearted, loving, giving, caring person, then money's going to give you the opportunity to be more of that, right? But you need to, like this part right here, like, look, I started this whole page. So super important that you need to get rid of the idea that God wants you to sacrifice yourself for others. I'll never forget, I had a girl, she was making, on my team, she was making about $6,000-$7,000 a month. This was about, I don't know, 6 years ago. Yeah, about 6 years ago. And she got to that point and she was like, I can't do this. I know God wants me to be humble and live a humble life, and I can't make this kind of money because this is not right for me to make this kind of money when other people are struggling. I'm like, wait, what? You're supposed to be broke because other people are broke? That makes no sense to me at all. That makes no sense. You be the example. You don't be poor because they're poor. You don't live paycheck to paycheck or go bankrupt. They went bankrupt. This couple actually went bankrupt. You don't go bankrupt because other people are bankrupt. You become rich so that you can be the example that other people can do the same. Live an abundant life. God created you to live abundant. We just increase. Things grow. Plants grow. Animals grow. We grow. We increase, right? You're not like born and die. Like that isn't like that's totally wrong. I don't know what she'd been programmed. But she sabotaged her business. She's like, no, I can't do this. I need to be poor so I can be humble. I'm like, well, I'm so sorry you feel that way. You obviously are reading the wrong part of the Bible or something. I don't know, because nowhere in there did I ever see that God says he wants you to suffer and be poor and broke and destitute and live that way. Like, that's not true. I don't know where that came from. But you can help others more by making the most of yourself. That's it. You lead by example. Okay? On the bottom of this page where he says wealth, acquiring wealth. Remember, however, the desire of substance is for all, and its movements must be for more life to all. To all. This is super important. Intelligent substance will make things for you, but it will not take things away from someone else and give them to you. We are not competing against other people, taking from them so that you can have it. There's enough for everybody to go around. You must get rid of the thought of competition. Well, there that is. And you are to create, not compete. You don't have to cheat or take advantage of others. You don't need to let anyone work for you for less than he earns. You're to become a creator, not a competitor. A creator. You can create just like anybody else can create, and you don't need to compete against somebody else. Like in my business where I live, there are lots of leaders in this area. None of them are competition to me. I'm not competing against any of them. I'm not competing against anybody in the company that I'm in. I am creating with God for the people that I intend to work with, right? I'm writing the story of what my business looks like, of what my health looks like, of what my finances look like. I'm writing that story. You can write your story. I am creating. I'm not competing against anybody else. Super important that you understand that. You may be like, well, I'm at work. I'm competing against this girl for a promotion. Whew, you might want to think about that. Because if you're creating, there is no competition. If the job's yours and if you're meant for the job, if you add value to the job, if you're in your current position and you have exceeded your current position because of the value that you add, it's natural that you would move on to that promotion, right? You don't need to compete against her. You want to be in that divine space where it happens effortlessly because you are adding so much value, right? Not competing. Nobody's competing against anybody else. Some people do that all the time, right? But I'm just saying, that's where you want to be. You want to be in that creative space, that divine creation, that divine inspiration. So on the bottom of this page, he says, individuals of that type who become very rich do so sometimes purely by their extraordinary ability on the plane of competition, and sometimes they unconsciously relate themselves to substance in its great purposes and movement for a general upbuilding through industrial evolution. Take, for example, Rockefeller, Carnegie, Morgan. They've all been unconscious agents of the supreme and the necessary work. This is super important. You guys understand this. Systematizing and organizing productive industry. Again, this is back in 1910. And in the end, their work will contribute immensely toward increased life. So they were extremely competitive. In the end, their work will immensely contribute toward increased life for all, but their day is nearly over. Their day is nearly over. This is super important that you understand that some people have gotten there by being competitive against other people and what they were doing. And the purpose of what they were creating was to increase life for all. But their day is nearly over, because this is super important right here, this next part, okay? So they play a necessary part in the evolutionary process, obviously, but the same power which produced them will dispose of them. So this is get this, okay? This is the boomerang. This is what you put out comes back tenfold. It will do, and it is well to bear in mind that they have never been really rich. In record of their private lives, most of the rich class, they will show that they have really been most abject and wretched. Riches secured on a competitive plane are never satisfactory or permanent. So, for example, Tony Robbins always talks about Robin Williams. Robin Williams, who added so much value to so many people, right? He added so much value. He achieved so much in his life. He wanted a TV show, he got a TV show. He wanted stand-up comedy, he got stand-up comedy. He wanted movies, he got movies. He wanted to be a best director, he got best director. He achieved so much, which did add value to so many people's lives. But on the inside, he was not fulfilled. So he had achieved the science of achievement. He had achieved so much in his life, but he had not mastered the art of fulfillment. And creating from a creative place in your heart where you are completely fulfilled, that art of fulfillment is what he was missing. Tony Robbins was personal friends with Robin Williams, so he shared the story at a couple of events I've been to. And that's why he killed himself. He was not truly fulfilled and truly happy himself. He had done so much out there competing against other people. I got to get to the next level. I got to have a TV show. Now I got to have movies. Now I got to have stand-up. Now I got to be a director. Now I've got to do this. I got to achieve. But he wasn't fulfilled. So this is super important. You must never think for a moment that the supply is limited. Remember, if you're to become rich in a scientific and certain way, you must rise entirely out of the competitive thought. Out of it. Just as soon as you begin to think that all money is being cornered and controlled by others, you have to stop that. Stop that competitive mind. Come into a place of knowing. On the next page where he says, know that the money you need will come, even if it's necessary for 1,000 men to be led to discovery of new gold mines tomorrow. Never look at the visible supply. Always look at limitless riches in formless substance, and know they are coming to you as fast as you can receive them. How fast do you want it? You're like, well, I want it now. I want all the money in my bank account now. Give me $1 million right now. Do you actually believe that? Can you feel it? Can you feel that that's a possibility for you? That limitless riches in formless substance, know they're coming to you as fast as you can receive them? By cornering this visible supply, you can prevent you from getting what is yours. Nobody, by cornering this visible supply, can prevent you from getting what is yours. And then on the bottom of this page, to wrap this up, this chapter, never get afraid that you will lose what you want because another person beat you to it. In my business, there are people that promote all the time. All the time. You're never not going to get that promotion because somebody else got it before you. Anybody can get the same promotion. Anybody can get there. No one can beat you to the punch. No one beats you to it. You can get there just as fast as you want to, or you can take as long as you want to. What's the difference? The difference is their thought. Here's you, and here's another person. If this person gets the promotion first, you both can get the same promotion. If they get to it first, their thought is focused. They're focused. Their energy is focused. Their efforts are focused. Their attention, their intentions are focused. They got there faster because they're laser focused. They're not all over the board. We have an epidemic, just this crazy, insane thing that adults say today. And I'm not saying it's not true, but then on the other hand, your thoughts create your reality, your words create your world. So what you're saying is what's happening. And so many adults, I hear it daily where they're like, I'm ADD, I'm ADHD, I'm all over the place. I can't sit down, I can't focus. I need to concentrate. I don't know how to get organized. Coming from a school teacher, like I saw that in kids, and I'm not just talking about you, Alana, I'm talking about across the board. I hear it every day from different people. Adults that tell me that they're ADD or ADHD and they can't focus. But then they wonder why they're not where they want to be in their life. Physically, financially, in relationships or whatever. What you focus on expands. And if you're over here and you're over here and you're over here and you're doing this and you're doing that and you have here and then you forget about this and you're all over the place, how do you expect anything to expand if you can't focus in on something? And I'm not saying you have to focus in on every single area of your life hardcore, but what do you want? It's no different than when I moved here. I wanted to be here. I knew I wanted to live in Florida from the time I stepped foot in this state when I was 13 years old. I knew I would live here, and I traveled here every single year, multiple times myself. My parents have never taken me to Florida ever in their life. I traveled first time with my best friend, second time with my boyfriend and his family, and after that I got in my car and drove because I was 16. So I'm like, and I'm out. Peace out. Can you imagine 16 years old, 1,000 miles away with a map? Like a physical map. I had a 1979 Cutlass Supreme in 1990. So it wasn't a new car. And I had a map. And I'm like, I can follow road signs. I'm going to get in the car and go. I got to go. So I knew I had to be in Florida. So fast forward, here it is. We've built a winter home. Got down here and I'm like, oh, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. There's no way I'm leaving. I am not leaving. Brent did not want to move here. Not 1 ounce of him wanted to move here. And I'm like, well, me and the kids do. And there's much more here. More increase, life, value, opportunity, people, mindset, totally different. I'm out. This is where I want to be. I want to be here. And so I made it happen with my thoughts, visualizing, talking about, thinking about, writing about, dreaming about. Did I work? Oh, yeah. I literally signed up a new team member within the first week of moving here, a waitress at the restaurant. Within a week after that, I had a table set up at a vendor event. I was out networking. I was attending networking events, finding different things on Facebook, setting up booths here, did home shows. I mean, I was all over the place. Had a party at my house. I was working with people that I didn't even know. I knew no one here with the exception of the 2 owners of the company that I work for. But I don't go and, I do a lot more with Pam, obviously, but I wasn't like hanging out with them, building my business with them. It was me, myself, and I. I want to be here. I want to make this happen. Boom. Within a matter of months, here we are. House sold, live here permanently, full time. People's heads are spinning around backwards. They're like, what? How did this happen? I'm like, I focused on that. I focused on building my business, establishing myself in this community while we were here for the winter, and creating an opportunity to say, no, done. That house sold in 3 days. Our house back in Indiana sold in 3 days. We went back in June. All right. Brent agreed. We'll move because he knew it wasn't an option. We're moving. It's done. She's already manifested. It's created. It's done. The house sold. Literally 3 days. Gone. Bye. Out. How did that happen? So fast. Focus. 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 Your focus. You are not seeking anything that is possessed by anybody else. You are causing what you want to be created from the formless substance, and the supply is without limits. Stick to the formulated statement. I'm not going to read it to you because we're going to wrap up. Chapter 6 is just a couple pages long, about asking, really beg, how riches come to you. But I want you to make sure you're rereading this part here all the time. Reread that all the time. So this whole chapter here is all about giving value. Give value no matter where you're at, what business you're in, whatever you're doing. Add value to people. Give more in cash value than you take from them, okay, in your money that you take from them, in your whatever you're getting your payment, okay? So great use of value, small cash. It's super important that you're adding value to people. Like, for example, this is free. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't cost you a dime. It just costs you some of your time, right? Which time is priceless. That's for sure. Time you're never going to get back again. So hopefully you're getting some value out of this. If you do think so, fabulous. If you don't, fabulous. Whichever way, it's all good. But the main thing is that to get rich, you have to add to people's lives in every way. You don't have to beat anybody in business. You don't have to do anything to try to compete against other people. It's all about the word value right here. Value. That's super important. So you cannot conduct your business that it will be sort of a ladder by which every employee who takes the trouble may climb to his riches himself. Given the opportunity, if he will not do so, it is not your fault. Okay? So on the bottom of this page, I starred down there when he says, he talks about if you want a sewing machine, hold the mental image of it in a positive certainty that it's being made, it's on its way, and after once forming the thought, have the most absolute and unquestioning faith that the sewing machine is coming. So I don't know about you, but I don't want a sewing machine. What do you want? What do you want? State it. What do I want? Impress that thought of what you want into formless substance. So if you want a car, if you want a massage, if you want a pair of shoes, if you want braces for your kid, I don't know, whatever, you have to hold that thought in the most absolute and unquestioning faith that it is coming to you. It will be brought to you by the power of the supreme intelligence acting upon the minds of men. It will be brought to you by God acting on your mind, right? The minds of men, your mind. Don't forget for a moment that this thinking substance is through all, in all, communicating with all, and can influence all. So this is the omnipotent, omnipresent substance source, God's substance, right? All that is, everything that permeates and penetrates the inner spaces of the universe. That is what you're talking about here. This thinking substance is everywhere. It's not like, oh, it's just over here. It's everywhere. So what you want, if you think it, don't put limits on where it comes from. If you say, oh, thanks. Thank you, guys. Oh, you guys are so sweet. If you say, I want, let's say you want a specific bracelet. I want this bracelet. You've looked at this bracelet online. You've maybe seen this bracelet in the store. You want this bracelet. Like, I really want this bracelet. Ooh, I really do want this bracelet. There's a bracelet I want right now. It's a Tiffany bracelet. I'm going to have the bracelets. I'm going to have that bracelet next week. That's freaking cool. Why? Because I have absolute belief, faith. I set a goal for myself. When I accomplish that goal, I'm going to buy myself the bracelet. And I just felt it's done. Like, it's done. I just felt it. I could feel it was done. Like, it's done. Check. I'll be ordering that bracelet ASAP. So you have to have that unwavering faith and know that you want it. It can come from anywhere. Maybe, I don't know, maybe The bracelet shows up because tomorrow's Valentine's Day, and Brent just buys me a bracelet, and it's the exact bracelet that I was thinking that I wanted, but I didn't know because he already got me pajamas, so he's not buying me a bracelet. He got me heart pajamas. We don't buy Valentine's gifts, and he did this year. It was so cute. I may or may not have said I wanted them because I want these pajamas. They're so cute. Or did you tag me in those? I think you tagged me in them first. But I saw them too on my Facebook newsfeed. So we both saw them. So anyways, I got them. Like, he ordered them on my PayPal. I'm like, oh, I saw my pajamas are coming. He's like, happy Valentine's Day. But whatever you want, just don't be limiting on where it comes from, okay? So if you want a new pair of earrings, just say, I want these earrings. These are what I want. Maybe somebody gives them to you. They were their old earrings and they're exactly what you wanted. Or maybe your boss gives you a little promotional gift for a great job you did on a project and you take the money and go buy the earrings. I don't know. Just ask big. That's the big thing of this bottom of this page down here. He says, just as certain as that you can have any other thing or things which you want and which you will use for advancement of your own life and the lives of others, you need not hesitate. Thank you, Denise. You need not hesitate about asking largely. It is your Father's pleasure to give you the kingdom, said Jesus. Down here, see that? It is your Father's pleasure to give you the kingdom. He didn't say the Father wants to give you $2 so you're broke and bankrupt and can't pay your bills. It didn't say that. So ask big. Original Substance wants to live all that is possible for you. He wants you to have all. This is the key. I wrote at the bottom, ask largely. Key. You can use and will use for the living of the most abundant life. If you fix upon your consciousness the fact that your desire for the possession of riches is one with the desire of the supreme power for more complete expression, your faith becomes invincible. Like, do you see this word? Do you see this word? Invincible, underline, circle, star, highlight it. This is the key. God wants you to live all that is possible for you and wants you to have all that you can use and will use for living of the most abundant life. Like, that's just that has to be mind-blowing for you, because that's truth. That's absolute truth. If you fix upon your consciousness the fact that your desire for the possession of riches is one with the desire of the supreme power for more complete expression, your faith becomes invincible. Invincible. That's crazy. God, the one substance, is trying to live and do everything he enjoys through humanity. He is saying, I want hands to build wonderful structures, to play divine harmonies, to print glorious pictures. I want feet to run my errands, eyes to see my beauties, tongues to tell mighty truths, and to sing marvelous songs. God wants those who can play music to have pianos and every other instrument, to have the means to cultivate their talents to their fullest extent. He wants those who can appreciate beauty to be able to surround themselves with beautiful things. He wants those who can discern truth to have every opportunity to travel and observe. This is huge right here, you guys. Like, this part here is huge. He wants those who can appreciate dress to be beautifully clothed, and those who can appreciate good food to be luxuriously fed. I don't know about y'all, but I'm up for all this. He wants all these things because it is himself that enjoys and appreciates them. They're his creation. It is God who wants to play and sing and enjoy beauty and proclaim truth and wear fine clothes and eat good foods. It's God that worketh in you to will and to do, said Apostle Paul. The desire you feel for riches is the infinite seeking to express himself in you as he sought to find expression in the little boy at the piano. So you need not hesitate asking largely. Your part is to focus on and express that desire to God. This is a difficult point with most people, which is why I keep saying it over and over again tonight. This is the difficult part. They retain something of the old idea that poverty and self-sacrifice are pleasing to God. Make a decision tonight to let go of that. It's not true. It is not true. God does not want you to sacrifice and to live without. that is not true. Let it go. It doesn't serve you, right? They look upon poverty as part of the plan, a necessity of nature. They have the idea that God has finished his work and then made all he can make, and there's not enough to go around. They feel ashamed to ask for wealth. Do you feel ashamed to ask for wealth? If you do, ask yourself why. Like, why do I feel ashamed to ask for wealth? Why do I feel ashamed to live an abundant life? Why do I feel that there's not enough to go around? Why do I feel that I have to compete? Why do I feel like I can't have more than a modest life? Why? What are these things? Why are they coming up in me? Reread this part again. Following the instructions given in this book, you can obtain anything you want in a few months or less, a day, an hour. The guy about the sewing machine, he realized in his house, the guy with his house, he talks about the guy with the rug and them fixing up his house and everything that he wanted. He realized he had it. It was all coming to him. He was saying, I want this, I want this, and I want this, and it was all coming. And he dawned on him he hadn't asked for enough. He went through his house and he planned all the improvements. He mentally added the bay window. He mentally added the plans, the furnishing, the whole picture in his mind, and began living in a certain way and moving forward. Remember, back in 1910, there was no internet. So he didn't Google things on his phone. And he certainly didn't jump in his horse and buggy and go to, a mansion thousands of miles away and check it out. He formed it in his mind, what he wanted in his mind. Super crazy. Holding the whole picture in his mind, he began living in a certain way and moving toward what he wanted. And he owns the house now. He's rebuilding it after the form of his mental image. And now with still larger faith, he's going on to get greater things. And it has been unto him according to his faith, and so it be unto you. And with all of us, ask largely. Super important that you ask largely. Don't I say go big or go home, right? Go big or go home. What do you have to lose? What do you have to gain? The whole world's out there waiting. Anything you want. You just have to decide. And you have to focus. Stop saying you're ADD or ADHD or you can't concentrate. Maybe you need to take something, I'm not saying a medication by any means. Maybe you need to Google all natural ways to calm or focus my mind. Brent used Confianza for years to stay calm and focused. Now he drinks keto coffee, calm and focused. Gets the laundry done, the dishes done, gets all his business done, gets all his phone calls made. He's like, boom, 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 right? He's looking at me like, don't tell my stories. Don't share my secrets. There are no secrets. So do whatever you need to do. Take some deep breaths. Go for a walk. Journal. Meditate. Do whatever you need to do to calm your mind, to stay focused. Get in that space. Get organized. And get done what you want to get done, what you need to get done so that you feel like you have done that on purpose. You've been productive and it's leading you towards your goal. That divine action, that inspired action. That's where you want to live. I love this book. I don't know about you guys, but I love this book. I love this book. Like I said, I've read it a gazillion times. Every time I read it, the more I read it, the more I go through it, I just love it more and more and more. More every time. So if you guys have any questions, anything at all, any comments or anything, please feel free to ask. Send me a private message. I'm happy to help in any way, of course. And I'll plan on seeing you guys next Wednesday. I'm just reading through the comments to make sure I got everything covered. I think I did. So Wednesday morning's my 5 a.m. morning. I got to do the squat challenge. So I got to go live. I got 40 squats to do live here in just a minute on my Facebook. So I'm going to jump up my energy and get my booty ready to do some squats. I'll see you guys next Wednesday for my favorite part, which is chapters 7 through 9. That's my favorite part of the whole book. It's just my favorite part. So we'll see you next Wednesday, 9 p.m. I'll send out the Zoom ID number, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys then. Have a good evening.